Good afternoon and welcome to our virtual town hall about Article 31, which is a TIF agreement with Amazon. I am here today with our Executive Director of Community Development, Andrew Shapiro, and the Senior Manager of Economic Development from Amazon, Brad Griggs. We have a presentation that we will be doing for you today. That presentation will be done by both myself and Andrew, and then we will be answering some questions that were submitted in advance through our email, and then we'll be opening the phone for questions from you live at home. At this point, I am going to move over to Andrew, and he will start our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So a summary of the project, if we can cue up the presentation. A summary of the project is, after months of discussions, Town of North Andover officials have agreed in principle to both a tax increment financing agreement and community partnership agreement with Amazon.com Services LLC, i.e. Amazon, and Hillwood Enterprises LP, the future property owner at what will be 1450 Osgood Street. Hillwood will redevelop 110 acres of property at what is currently 1600 Osgood Street, otherwise known as Osgood Landing, into a 5-story, approximately 3.8 million square foot Amazon e-commerce storage, warehouse, and distribution facility. The TIF agreement will need to be approved at town meeting by a majority vote, as well as by the Commonwealth's Economic Assistance Coordinating Council, the EACC. So what does the project entail? On May 19th, the Planning Board approved an application for site plan review, parking, building height, and floor area ratio special permits for the proposed project. The board hired outside consultants to thoroughly peer review stormwater management plans, civil engineering plans, sewer design, water design, and a submitted traffic report. Earlier this year in February, the Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions for the project. It calls for demolition and site work to begin on approximately 110 acres, portion of the 1600 Osgood property, which will become a 5-story, approximately 3.8 million square foot Amazon e-commerce storage, warehouse, and distribution facility. 1,500 employees are expected to work at the facility. A solar array, which currently occupies a portion of that property, will be relocated to an approximately 57-acre lot, Lot A, which can be seen in the upper left-hand corner of the shown diagram, or the shown plan. That lot will continue to be owned by the current owner of 1600 Osgood Street, while the 110-acre lot will be sold to Hillwood. The lots will share common driveway access off of Osgood Street, and a separate entrance to the Amazon portion of the site will also be accessible off Osgood Street at the other end. The Amazon portion of the site will provide 1,803 parking spaces. The state provided an advisory opinion dated May 8th, 2020, that the project does not require review under MEPA. A new sewer will be installed along Route 125 from the Haverhill line to Sutton Street, a third of the cost of which is being covered by Hillwood. The site currently utilizes a sewer connection provided by the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District. Once the town's sewer project is complete, the Amazon facility will connect to it. And once complete, the project is estimated to generate 1,868 new vehicle trips per day on average. The project requires upgrades of signal equipment at both entrance and exit intersections of the property, which will need to be approved by MassDOT. So now we'll discuss what a TIF is and the mechanics of TIF financing. TIF stands for Tax Increment Financing. It is an economic development tool authorized by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which allows property owners to be granted property tax exemptions of up to 100% of a tax increment. An increment is the increase in property value due to investments made by a property owner, such as building a new building or rehabilitating an older building on a given property. So an example would be a given property's assessed value could be $500,000, and after improvements are made to it, such as building new buildings or rehabilitating buildings on the existing property, it is then assessed for $1 million. In that case, the increment would be $500,000. A municipality may enter into a TIF with a landowner for a maximum term of 20 years. We should note that the town proposes to enter into a TIF agreement with Amazon for a term of 10 years. This will help finance the cost of construction, after which time Amazon will pay 100% of the taxes owed on the increased assessed value of the property resulting from the construction. A city or town must initiate a TIF by a vote of its governing body approving the TIF agreement. So now we'll discuss 1600 Osgood Street and what it is today. So the current value of the entire property, buildings and land, is about $31,733,000. The calculated tax bill based on current commercial tax rate is $588,000 approximately. Amazon will occupy over 90%, closer to 92% of the current property, and will demolish all of the buildings on what will become its portion of the site. Because these buildings are being demolished, they are not part of the property's considered base value. The tax bill for approximately 90% of the land would be about $29,249 based on today's commercial tax rate. Anything above and beyond that amount is considered part of the incremental value increase. The terms of the TIF are as follows. The length of the term, as noted prior, is 10 years. The schedule of exemptions will be Amazon will receive an 80% exemption on the increment in their taxes in fiscal years 1 and 2, 70% exemption in fiscal years 3 and 4, 60% exemption in fiscal years 5 and 6, 50% exemptions in fiscal years 7 and 8, and 40% exemption in fiscal years 9 and 10. The projected savings to Amazon over that 10-year term is approximately $27.3 million. Projected net new taxes to the town over that 10-year period is approximately $18.2 million. It is important to note that these savings are projected and based only on today's values. We have calculated it this way due to the state's requirement for it to be submitted in this manner. In reality, valuations and tax rates change annually, so the annual payment amounts will fluctuate. And here's a breakout of the exemption schedule, what we call the TIF table. So you'll note in FY 2020 this year, we start out with the base valuation of just over $1.5 million. And then we see the post-project valuation of the project or the property, which ends up being $247,128,000. So that is the value or the estimated or the projected value after the project's complete. And you see there's 10 years representing the term of the TIF. The tax exemption rate is noted, starting, as we mentioned before, 80% in the first 2 years, ending with 40% in the last 2 years of the TIF agreement. And one can see that the total taxes exemption over that period, as previously mentioned, is $27.3 million, with net new taxes for the city, or for the town, I should say, $18.2 million. And when considering the base value, the base taxes collected over that period of time, a total amount of taxes of $18,492,622 projected over that 10-year period. Personal property taxes are excluded from the TIF, which means that Amazon will pay personal property taxes to the town. They are charged at a commercial tax rate. Personal property generally includes tangible items that are not firmly attached to land or buildings and are not considered to be part of the real estate. This includes, for example, merchandise, furniture, machinery, tools, animals, and equipment. The value of personal property does tend to decrease each year as the property depreciates in value. Amazon informed the town that it anticipates personal property to be valued at $100 million in year 1, which would result in a personal property tax bill based on current tax rate of $1,853,000. Total taxes, combined real estate and personal property projected for year 1 to be collected, $2,763,007. And now I am going to, there's one more slide for TIF terms, my apologies. Amazon agrees to create at least 1,500 full-time equivalent jobs at this facility. This does not include temporary construction jobs that will be created as the facility is built. The agreement may be terminated or decertified if Amazon defaults on obligations, which would result in ending of future tax benefits. A third-party assessor will be hired at the cost of Hillwood, the future property owner, to reassess the value of the property every 3 years. Okay, and now I will hand it back to Town Manager Melissa Murphy-Rodriguez to go through the rest of the presentation.
And I get to do the fun part. How will North Andover benefit? If we could cue back up the slides, I'll go from there. A lot of our new benefit will come from these net new taxes. The town will receive a projected $18.2 million in net new real estate taxes over the 10-year term of the TIF agreement. In the 10 years following the conclusion of the TIF term, and we're equating this to a 20-year period because that is the period of time that Amazon will have the lease. The town will receive a projected $45.5 million, making for a total of approximately $63.7 million in projected net new property taxes, real estate property taxes, over a period of 20 years. Personal property over that 20-year period is estimated to generate $21.3 million, meaning that a total of $85 million is projected in new revenue to the town over that 20-year period. I just want to remind people that we're really looking at these numbers in a vacuum. We know that values change, we know the tax rate changes, and so we have to really talk about what we know today. And today we know the commercial property tax rate, and we know what the value will be in year one. And that's the way that the state has asked us to really look and calculate these numbers as well. And so when we're talking about these items, we're really talking about what we know today, and we know the numbers will fluctuate, but we want to make sure that we're comparing apples and apples. One thing that we really do have to realize is that if this property is not developed by Amazon, if it stays as it is today, we would only receive over the 20-year period $12.3 million in taxes. That includes personal property. That's personal property and real estate taxes. So think about that. We're comparing Amazon project with a TIF, with that $27 million benefit to Amazon, and the town getting $85 million over 20 years, to staying with what we have now, not approving the TIF, and only getting $12 million in income over the 20-year period. We heard from Andrew that we'll be seeing 1,500 full-time jobs. Not only that, but Amazon has agreed to have a job fair for veterans every year. Of those 1,500 new jobs, 100 of them are management and will make approximately $60,000 a year. All of those jobs have benefits. We're seeing other benefits as well. Approximately $400,000 in total construction costs, a one-time investment in our community, and working with Amazon, we were able to negotiate the town's first, I believe, development agreement. No, that's not true. We had one with Osgood. But I think the Commonwealth's first development agreement with Amazon. And Brad will correct me if I'm wrong, and I know we were in a race to the finish to try to get to this point, but I believe we are the first development agreement in the Commonwealth with Amazon, and I think that's a lot to be applauded. And if you don't know what a development agreement is really a roadmap for a project. It talks about what the town's obligations are, as well as what the developer's obligations are. It lets out how we're going to deal with construction. What is trucking going to be like? How do we have construction meetings every week? How do we make sure everyone's on the same page? But in this case, we were also able to negotiate community partnerships. And those community partnerships show how serious Amazon is taking its obligation to this town. I'm going to run through some of those community partnerships now, and I'm very proud of what the town has been able to negotiate. We're going to have $2.3 million contribution to the sewer extension project along Route 125. This represents 1/3 of the total project cost, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that sewer extension means to the town coming forward. We're going to be receiving $90,000 for a post-project traffic calming study, which will be done at full occupancy. So we can determine whether or not the traffic studies that were done in advance of the project were adequate, and whether or not we need to do any additional mitigation. The town will be receiving $3 million in funding for STEM and STEAM for our North Andover public schools, with $300,000 paid annually over 10 years. $100,000 for technology upgrades at the Stevens Memorial Library and the Youth and Rec Center. $700,000 to establish a tree planting program in town, with $175,000 paid annually for 4 years. $100,000 for furniture and technology at the new North Andover Senior Center. $100,000 for procurement of traffic mitigation equipment. So if we determine that the traffic is more burdensome than we realized, we will be able to make changes to that traffic, and we will be able to implement mitigation that we need to. We are receiving approximately $263,000 for the fire department to procure necessary equipment that they know they need in order to have any fires in this building, which hopefully we won't. And again, Amazon will be holding an annual hiring event geared towards our veterans. That's a total of $8.6 million in community benefits. $8.6 million on top of that $85 million in revenue that we discussed. Other things that will benefit us is that extension of the sewer service along Route 125, which will increase the value of parcels of land along that stretch of road, and which may bring new businesses to town so that we can enjoy even more tax revenue and job opportunities in the way that we want to see them. I'm going to go back to Andrew so he can discuss a little bit some of Amazon's other TIFs that they've had in the Commonwealth.
So here we're going to talk about a TIF that was executed with Amazon and the towns of Freetown and Fall River and City of Fall River back in 2015. So to put North Andover's agreed upon incentives for the proposed Amazon project into perspective, consider the Amazon Fulfillment Center project that was approved in Fall River in 2015. That project, which is a third of the size of the proposed North Andover project in terms of square footage and jobs created, and less than a fifth of the size of the project in terms of investment, received approximately $14.9 million in combined local tax savings and state tax credits over a 15-year term. That's 5 years longer than our proposed TIF. The project did not include a local development agreement with agreed upon community benefits either, which ours does. If one were to divide the total incentives, $14.9 million, into the total amount of private investment, $54 million, for the Fall River project, that would be 27.5%. That is compared to 7% for the same calculation of the North Andover project, 27 million into 400 million. Therefore, our investment of 27 million would seem to go a lot further than the investment that Fall River and Freetown made. Moreover, our project does not include any exemptions on personal property, nor is the state contributing state tax credits to the project. So this is just sort of an overall view of our project compared to the one that was executed in Fall River and Freetown back in 2015.
And that is the end of our presentation period of this program. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to turn over to some of the questions that we have emailed in, and several of you were kind enough to email us questions in advance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the questions, and then our representative from Amazon, Brad, is going to go ahead and answer them, and we're going to work collaboratively on making sure we get you answers. Additionally, any questions that we receive today, we will go ahead and post on the website probably on Friday so that people can continue to review them as we move towards town meeting on Tuesday. All right, Brad. So our first question was, what efforts are being made to make this a carbon neutral, no gas building?
Thanks, Melissa. So we're working towards a zero carbon buildings to support our climate pledge commitment of a net zero carbon operation by 2040. Removing combustion entirely or to the greatest extent possible is part of our zero carbon building program and will be utilized at the proposed facility.
Thank you, Brad. Our next question is, what efforts are being made to respect conserving the town's greatest natural resource, the lake?
We understand and appreciate that the lake serves as the town's primary water supply and as such it deserves special protections. Those protections are detailed in the town's watershed protection district provisions in the zoning bylaws. The project, though, is located well outside of the lake's watershed district, and other than drawing water for drinking and for fire protection purposes, is not expected to have any impact on the lake. The town has also confirmed that the adequacy of the town's water supply to serve both the project needs and the town's other needs will be there for many years to come. I also want to note that the Conservation Committee has approved the project stormwater management plans, which treat stormwater in compliance with the town and Mass DEP standards. As part of the approval process, approximately 11 acres of pavement will also be removed from the site and restored to native upland meadow habitats, compensatory flood storage areas, and stormwater management system improvements. The stormwater management system upgrades that we're going to be putting in place will substantially improve the quality of water discharging into the adjacent wetlands and water bodies surrounding the site.
Thank you, Brad. Question 3, what efforts are being made to use electric vehicles to decrease pollution and lead the fight on the climate crisis?
The final design of the facility will comply with 2018 IECC requirements for electric vehicle capabilities and electric vehicle ready parking spaces. Amazon is committed to sustainability across our operations. We've invested in electric vehicles throughout the United States. We've ordered over 100,000 vehicles as part of the climate pledge, and that is a commitment to be net zero carbon by 2040. We believe these vehicles will start to hit the road in 2021, and will eventually be plants as part of the proposed facility.
Thank you. Question 4, how will the bulk of Amazon's traffic be routed, and how will this particularly affect Massachusetts Avenue?
So the decision issued by the North Andover Planning Board specifically directs all of our truck traffic to and from the site north via the Ward Hill connector to Route 495. The majority of the Amazon employee traffic and traffic from the remaining Aussie Properties office building will travel to and from the north of the site with no impacts on Mass Avenue that are anticipated. Amazon fulfillment centers utilize a staggered shift time, and so those fall typically outside of the morning and evening rush hour periods. By using staggered shift times, our employees come and go from the site prior to morning rush hour, and then again, we'll do so prior to and after the evening rush hour periods. The last point on that is that the community partnership term sheet that we've detailed earlier on the call requires a traffic plan to be approved by the town and for traffic to be reviewed 1 year after occupancy.
Thank you, Brad. What are Amazon's plans to reduce the environmental impact of the delivery trucks and the increased car volume by the employee commuters? It's question 5.
Amazon and Hillwood, the development partner of ours, have initiated conversations with the Merrimack Valley Regional Transit Authority about servicing the redevelopment with additional bus service. We are planning on working with the Merrimack Valley Transportation Management Association to promote ride sharing, carpooling, and other transit options designed to reduce trips to and from the site. This facility has been designed with 2 drop-off and pickup areas on either side of the employee entrance. Amazon facilities like the one proposed for this redevelopment experience a significant amount of multi-occupancy vehicle use. Typically, that's in the form of carpooling and ride sharing.
Thank you. 6, does Amazon have plans to use electric vehicles to decrease carbon and noise pollution? And I think you may have gotten into this a little bit earlier on, but if there's anything else you want to add on that one?
Sure. I think Amazon currently utilizes electric yard holsters or parking lots for the truck trailers designed for moving containers within the site, and they have charging stations in the truck docking area of the design of the facility. While the proposed facility has not been finished from a completely designed standpoint, provisions for electric vehicle charging stations will be made in accordance with prevailing energy codes. As I mentioned, Amazon is committed to sustainability across our operations. We've ordered 100,000 vehicles as part of our climate pledge, and these vehicles are set to hit the road in 2021.
Great. Number 7, does Amazon have plans to make the building carbon neutral, or at a minimum, to introduce many new green technologies?
Sure. Amazon is committed to 100% renewable energy by 2030, and we believe it is possible to reach 100% renewable energy by 2025, 5 years ahead of the goals we announced last fall. While this is challenging, we have a credible plan to get there. To meet our climate pledge, Amazon is committed to designing and operating buildings that are ultra energy efficient. We have removed combustion and will be fully electric, are powered by renewable energy, and have demonstrated reductions in embodied carbons of the building materials used to construct the facilities. The current design criteria for the proposed facility include a lot of energy efficiency design elements, including building automation systems, high energy HVAC systems, occupant thermal controls, LED lighting, both interior and exterior of the facility, electrical metering, daylight sensing and harvesting in the office areas, low flow plumbing fixtures, highly effective roofing materials, insulation above code minimum, high efficiency glazing, thermal aluminum window systems, and a solar ready roof construction.
Great. Question 8. The town is in need of healthy, safe athletic fields. Will Amazon Hillwood create at least one organic grass, pesticide-free, artificial turf-free field, similar to the ones in Marblehead and Springfield, for use by North Andover residents? And I think I'm going to try to take a jab at this one. The town's been blessed over the last 15 years to use the field as 1600 Osgood Street. And I know many of the organizations have recognized how lucky we've been to be able to use that field since the town did not own it. We have worked really closely with Amazon to negotiate terms and benefits in our development agreement and community partnership agreement. And unfortunately, the field's just not one of them at this time. However, based on the new revenue that we're receiving and our extensive capital improvement program, I know that we can work collectively with the town to make certain that we have the types of fields that our community partners, our youth organizations, and our adult organizations need. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me at Town Hall with field needs, or if you feel that the fields we have are not adequate, and I look forward to working with you on that. Brad, I don't know if you have anything to add.
We work with our communities, and we've tried to work hard with you, Melissa, and the town on the community partnership. And similarly, we will work hard going forward on hopefully addressing the community needs as they come up.
Thank you, Brad. Question 9. What environmental protections and advantages will be put in place?
The redevelopment, as proposed, would include, as I mentioned, a modern stormwater management system and plan where none exists today at the current 1600 Osgood facility. The system will have a multi-level water quality treatment drain, which will provide substantial improvements to the treatment of stormwater, particularly along the site's westerly boundary along the Merrimack River. We've secured an order of conditions under the Wetland Protection Act and the town's wetland protection bylaws. As was described in the Conservation Commission and Planning Board filings, several measures will be taken during construction to protect the wetlands, water bodies, and other similar undeveloped areas bordering the project limits. These measures include, in part, adhering to the setbacks from the edge of wetlands, implementing a comprehensive sediment control and erosion prevention plan, using qualified environmental inspectors approved by the Conservation Committee and Town Planning Board during construction to monitor both the construction and ensure compliance with applicable permit conditions, and restoring currently paved areas to native upland meadow habitats. We're using part of the property as currently includes a 6 megawatt solar energy system, which supplies discounted electricity to the town's public buildings. The redevelopment would include the relocation of a portion of the existing solar array to the north of the site so that the system can remain in place and continue to provide discounted electricity to the town. Additionally, the proposed facility would be designed in such a manner as to allow for future installation of solar arrays on the roof of the building.
Thank you.
And I think the last piece there was related to how we would be disposing of persistent substances such as containing mercury, and that will be in full compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local regulations.
Okay, question 10. What increase in vehicle traffic in North Andover is being anticipated as a result of the project? And how do the agreements address the environmental and financial impact of the traffic increase?
Given the prior existing background traffic that is now being removed from the existing 1600 Osgood site, we expect the net daily new trips to be less than 2,000. This includes trips associated with the remaining Osgood fully occupied 400,000 square foot office building that will continue to be on the site. All trucks enter and exit from the north to and from I-495, and automobile trips would be spread about 55 to 60% to the north, 40 to 45% to the south. The CPA and our planning board decisions require us to mitigate our traffic impacts in accordance with the mass dock requirements. The community partnership agreement also includes the contribution of the town for the post-occupancy traffic study, additional traffic mitigation, and traffic calming equipment. We have, from an environmental standpoint, we have the $700,000 tree planting program. And lastly, the project itself is a brownfield redevelopment. It includes the new and improved stormwater management system that I mentioned before. Overall, the project eliminates 14 acres of impervious paved area, with 11 of those acres to be replanted as a native meadow along the Merrimack River. The project will result in the planting of at least 676 new trees and 2,300 new shrubs and grasses that aren't there today outside of the tree planting program. And the project is committed to relocating the existing 6 megawatt solar generation facility from Osgood Properties that provides the discounted power to the town.
Thank you, Brad. That is the end of the questions that we received in advance. I want to remind people that, well, Brad and Andrew and I are happy to answer any questions that you have about the project that we can answer at town meeting on Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the high school, which I hope you will join me at. When we discuss Article 31, the questions will be mainly about the TIF. And additionally, at that meeting, we will be unable to have Brad with us because Brad does not live in Massachusetts. And Amazon is not yet allowing their employees to travel, just like we're not allowing our employees to travel. So Brad is joining us kindly today to answer any questions that you may have, and I will do my best to answer in his absence on Tuesday. So if you do have questions, we can open the phone line now to anyone who wants to call in. If people are still emailing questions, I can certainly find that out as well. I don't know if anyone, Brian, in the control room can put the phone number to call, or if anyone has called so far. I know it was pretty widely publicized. We'll give them a minute. We have one caller? We have one moment. Okay, 1 minute. So I hope that everyone will join us on Tuesday. Know if you know, but it is our first ever outside town meeting. We will be at the stadium. I'm very excited about it. We had a call with our weatherman this morning, and the weather's looking to be 65 and cloudy. So a nice day to be outside enjoying our town meeting. We have a lot of great items on the agenda. The TIF is just one of them, but we're looking forward to discussing many different items with everyone at town meeting on Tuesday at the high school. You can call now if you have any questions for us. That number is 978-681-0184. Again, 978-681-0184. Do we have any questions yet? We do. Okay. Andrew, do you want to pick it up and we'll see who's there?
Okay, I'm just looking at the phone here. Oh, got one coming in. I'll answer right now.
Hello.
Hello, this is Bill Callahan, 23 Lyman Road,
Hi, Bill.
North Andover.
How are you?
Good. I had a couple questions.
Okay.
And I guess my primary one is in relation to the whole process. So when I look at this, and we went last year, I specifically went to one of the small information sessions and said, hey, is Amazon pursuing a TIF? Because I'm in commercial real estate and I would pursue a TIF on a project of this size. But after the zoning was approved, the TIF came afterwards. So I'm just curious as to why the change in direction by the development group.
Sure. So I think, as you know, both Andrew and I unfortunately weren't here at the last town meeting, although I wish I was. And I think that the project has changed in many ways as it's kind of moved through the process and become a bigger investment in the community than we realized at that time, or than was realized at that time. But I can send it over to Brad and see if he has anything to add on that as well.
Sure, appreciate that, Melissa. And Bill, thank you for the call. From our perspective as Amazon, at the meeting last year, those public sessions, Amazon was not part of.
You know what, Brad, could you wait 1 minute for us? Mr. Callahan, can you hear Brad?
Very faintly, but more or less.
Okay. Then I could suggest that you hang up and call back so you can listen to him on your television, if that's better. Or even just mute the call and put your TV on so you can hear him. Live television is always a little interesting to deal with, but we want to make sure you can hear Brad. Why don't you go ahead and mute? Go Go ahead and mute, and then he can speak to you through the TV. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I was watching through the website, and
Okay, perfect.
there's a delay. I can tell that you guys are not on the same, it's not real time. Is the TV better?
No, the website's fine. If you go ahead and just mute your phone, Brad will answer you. You can watch it on the website, and then we'll bring you right back. Just don't hang up. All right, Brad.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Thanks, Melissa. So as I was saying, Amazon was not part of those public sessions, but if you look at our company, we are customer focused, and we try and bring, a holistic approach to our due diligence on bringing new facilities out of the ground. And we utilize many different departments and our evaluation due diligence of sites. As Melissa mentioned, the project has grown since last year when I was at town meeting discussing the zoning requirements. The zoning hurdle from last year was the critical site component without which we would not have been able to move forward with the continued due diligence that has occurred over the last year. As a holistic approach, Amazon utilizes multiple teams from real estate, finance, human resources, our economic development team, in conjunction with our development partners in Hillwood, to evaluate sites and bring significant expansion of our fulfillment network to bear throughout that evaluation process. So there was always an expectation to have this sort of discussion around potential financial assistance, around partnering with the community to evaluate this site in a holistic fashion to allow for this project to be successful as we evaluate locations throughout North America. The financial assistance for each of these facilities allows us to more effectively expand our fulfillment network, bring new facilities out of the ground, and to allow our customers to meet the expectations of the great service that we look to provide them, and to bring their goods and products that order through us to their homes in as efficient and well-resourced process as possible.
So Brad, would I be correct in saying that the TIF makes this project much more attractive to Amazon as it compares us with other projects moving forward?
Correct. We evaluate these sites quantitatively and qualitatively, as I mentioned, for to see the holistic vision, and by incorporating the TIF from a cost certainty and perspective from a long-term evaluation process for the site, it allows this location, with the significant costs that are associated with it, well in excess of $400 million, to be more effectively evaluated by our entire team in comparison with the other locations under consideration in North America for this type of investment.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan, are you still there?
I am. I'm just listening to the answer.
Oh, we're a little behind. Okay. I'll give you a minute to finish that up.
Perspective from a long-term evaluation process site.
And for those of you that still want to call, I'm going to remind you the number is 978-681-0184.
Did you have any follow-up, Mr. Callahan?
I'm sorry. I have one more question.
Sure.
I noticed in the agreement it says that there'll be a third-party assessor hired by the town with the approval of Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if that any consideration had been given to a baseball arbitration type process for selection and final use of the assessment.
I think that's a great idea. So what you're looking at is basically a term sheet, right? It's the beginning of our agreement. It lays out what the terms will look like. Eventually that will be encapsulated inside of a wider development agreement that we're still working on and negotiating. To do this original evaluation, we used a very well-respected assessor who is actually consulting for the town on other matters. And I do anticipate that we'll continue to use someone just as well-respected, and that we'll be able to amicably come to that decision with Amazon. But I think laying out how we make those decisions and what we do when we're not in agreement will be very important as we finalize that full development agreement.
Okay.
Is there anything else we can help you with, Mr. Callahan?
No, thank you. No, I mean, it was a great presentation. I appreciate everyone's time.
We appreciate you calling. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
We do have more callers, so let's see who else is on the line.
Just waiting for it to light up.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. What is your name and address, please?
Bonnie Wilkinson, 41 Bruin Hill Road.
Thank you. Do you want to tell us what your question is?
Don't I ask my question?
Go right ahead.
But I'm listening and I'm not there.
We can hear you.
Who am I speaking to?
You're speaking to the town manager.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Melissa?
okay. Yes, I'm
I
here.
can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm a little far away. Why don't I have Andrew speak to you? Go ahead, Andrew.
Hi, this is Andrew Shapiro, Director of Community and Economic Development. We'll hear your question now if you're ready to give it.
Sure. I actually have a couple questions.
Okay.
First one is, were there any exemptions given by the Conservation Committee?
Exemptions.
Is there anything that our bylaws say that they are being exempt from?
I'd have to reference the document or the decision, but Brad, do you have any comment on that?
I'd also have to refer to the Conservation Committee decision. At this time, I'm not aware of exemption, but I'm also not totally caught up on the Conservation decision.
Right. So I don't know of any exemptions to either our bylaws at all that were given to the applicant. But what we're doing is we're keeping a list of all of the questions, and if we can't adequately answer yours, we will go ahead and answer it on the website. But I'll call back after we hang up here and get your phone number, and I'll get back to you on that as well.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking for, because as an example, New England Power has exemptions being able to cut down trees and stuff within the proximity of wetlands, which no one else can, but they have an exemption of that. So I'm just looking to know what exemptions Amazon is getting from our normal bylaws.
Okay, we're happy to answer that for you.
Okay, and I have a couple more, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Apologies.
One of the questions that
Ma'am,
we
it sounds
asked-
like Brad's just trying to provide some more information. Hold on one moment. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh,
My understanding, based on reviewing our notes, is that there are no exemptions. We went through the entire process, and it was peer reviewed by.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we, thank you, Brad. We'll make sure that that's 100% correct, but in case you can't hear Brad, he's saying that he re-reviewed his notes and they went through the entire process and that he does not have any exemptions listed.
okay, all right, and then when you guys came to the meeting, the town meeting that we had prior to the actual meeting, I don't know what you want to call it, but we said that this obviously is a distribution center that fulfills other distribution centers, and we were supposed to get a list of who those were, because we said we wanted to make sure that, that this wasn't going to be filling within our town or neighboring towns, like small trucks and things like that.
Right, it is absolutely not small trucks. That project has not changed to be a direct supplier to customers. It continues to be a more wholesale supplier. The trucking will be large trucks taking mass amounts of materials in and out. As far as a list to where you are supplying, Brad, is there a list like that exists?
So given that this facility would not come online until 2022 as based on the current construction schedule, as you indicated, this is a fulfillment center where our suppliers bring our inventory into the site via line haul trucks, and then we package the goods based on our customer orders into Amazon packaging. They are placed back onto line haul trucks and sent out into the fulfillment network to other Amazon facilities or third-party delivery service providers. This, as you mentioned, would not involve kind of small trucks servicing the areas surrounding the town of North Andover, but our larger North American fulfillment network. And so that, given that this facility is not coming online as scheduled until at least 2022, the listing of facilities is not going to be accurate until we get much closer to an operation point of the proposed site.
Okay, ma'am, could you hear that answer?
Barely.
Yep, I can. I'll briefly. So basically what he said is that this facility will not be coming online until 2022 by the time it does its permitting and then construction process. And so they won't have a good list of what their North American fulfillment centers will be until closer to that period. But it is, as I said before, a fulfillment center for large companies and manufacturers, not for individuals.
Okay, and then, and I know this is new because, you know, technology is evolving, but we also did ask about, drones and things like that. So there's no, privacy issues, correct? I mean, they're not going to be using drones?
He's shaking his head no and saying there's not going to be any drones.
No, at this time, we do not plan to utilize drones in the near future at any of our fulfillment centers at this time.
Okay, no drones.
One last question.
Sure.
Should the town, and I'm just asking in general, what would happen? Should the town not get a majority vote, what happens?
If the town does not get the majority vote, the TIF would fail. And then I think Amazon would have to go back and reevaluate whether or not it would want to move forward with the project. Brad, is that correct?
Correct. The TIF is a material factor in our decision to move forward with the proposed project.
Sorry,
He said that's correct, that the TIF is a material factor in deciding whether or not to move forward with the North Andover project.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to know what the process, I mean, obviously we have to go vote, and
Of course.
Let's hope for the best, I guess.
We hope we see you on Tuesday.
All right, I'll definitely be there. Thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Anytime, we're happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
All right, we do have one more caller on the line. All right, we can patch him through.
Okay. Hello, this is Andrew Shapiro, Director of Community and Economic Development.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon. My name is Peter Köster. I'm 11 Phillips Common here in North Andover. First, many thanks for this excellent virtual town hall meeting. I very much appreciate it. It's very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a question actually which has to do with the phase before the site comes online, more specifically for the phase during construction. I'm living not very far away here from Massachusetts Avenue, and on bad days, actually, we have every 2 to 3 minutes literally coming a heavy construction vehicle through here. For a facility which is redeveloping, first demolishing and then redeveloping 110,000 square feet, if I understand it correctly, there's probably a huge amount of vehicle traffic, construction vehicle traffic, heavy equipment, and so on. Does the town of North Andover plan to route these construction vehicles to adequate routes, or do we have to expect actually that these vehicles will try to find wherever they can actually to get in every direction, if you want so, from the construction site to the town, even further increasing the construction vehicle traffic here?
Sure. So I can take a stab at sort of a basic answer to that, which is that the town already has had significant conversations with Amazon and Hillwood's team on the construction process, and we will continue to do so as the construction process moves forward and as permitting begins for the construction of the project, assuming we move forward with the TIF and Amazon does indeed move forward with this project. And that'll include a complete construction plan, weekly or even daily meetings. Part of the community benefits terms are having on-site inspectors to do daily inspections of the site, and Amazon or Hillwood will be providing space for our inspectors to occupy the site. And so there'll be daily communication, very clear communication between the town's team, all inspectors, and the construction team on Amazon's side. And for any issues that arise during the construction process, anything can be communicated to the town, and we'll be able to then in turn turn around and communicate those issues to the project team to make sure that we can ameliorate or solve any problems that residents might be having with truck traffic or any other things that might be happening. And I should also just say as a closing part to this is that the police department is heavily involved in our construction planning process, so they'll be involved in terms of being able to route or asking Amazon to route the truck traffic in a way that'll be as least disruptive to the town as possible.
First, thank you very much for the comprehensive answer. Will there be a traffic plan actually which really drives or guides the construction vehicles via certain routes? Because how shall I phrase this? If a single citizen actually is calling town hall, it might be a complaint which may not be affecting many. If the town systematically actually monitors the traffic via some of the key routes within the town through a survey, a periodic survey or something like that, that's real hard data actually which can be used in order to guide that. Are you planning to do such surveys and base your decision and guidance actually on these surveys?
I mean, what I can tell you is that we will have a well thought out plan in place to guide all vehicle traffic, construction vehicle traffic, ahead of the project starting, and I'm sure it'll be evaluated on an ongoing basis to make sure that that plan is in fact being adhered to, both in practice but also in terms of any feedback we might be getting from the community as well.
Right, and the term sheet does require Amazon to submit their construction traffic plans 60 days prior to demolition, and that needs to be approved by the town. So there'll be traffic plans approved not only for the regular truck traffic when it opens, but also for that construction traffic. So we will have the mechanisms to be able to make sure that we can both implement and enforce that, which we already do with the sewage plant and with the trash company. So fortunately or unfortunately, we do have experience with large trucks in that area, and we look forward to working with the residents to make certain that we find a plan that, that works.
Excellent. That's very good agreements. Thank you so much. One last question. Will the public have the chance to review the construction traffic plan and give inputs?
What I'm thinking is that it may be a good idea for us to have a neighborhood meeting down there prior to construction starting and prior to the demolition starting. I think the demolition probably could be very soon after the town meeting, based on some of the activities that I've seen around that. But I think it would make sense, even if it has to be virtually like this, unfortunately, for us to have a neighborhood meeting.
Mm-hmm. Did you say neighborhood meeting? Did I
a neighborhood meeting, yes.
Yeah. Now, probably most of North Andover will be affected by that, actually. So then, I don't know whether it's only the immediate neighborhood of Osgood Landing, actually, who should have input in that.
Okay, that makes sense. We appreciate that feedback.
Okay. Thank you so much again. I very much appreciate the virtual town hall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right now, we don't have anyone else. We do. We have another caller.
Oh, great.
Okay, we'll wait for that to come through.
Oops. Hello, this is Andrew, Director of Community and Economic Development.
Hello, Andrew. I have a question. My name is Robin Ellington. I'm at 159 South Bradford Street.
Hi, Robin. I think we know each other, right?
Sorry?
We know each other, right? We work together on the Osgood Hill Trustees Board.
Right, the Stevens Estate.
Okay, that's right. All right.
Hello. I am curious about Article 31 on the warrant, and I just wanted to be clear about what a yes vote would mean and what a no vote would mean at town meeting.
Okay. So if you vote yes, that means that the town meeting has approved the TIF, and that the TIF would be able to move forward to the state for their approval. I believe the state meeting is actually the day after, or 2 days after our town meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, very quick process. So if you vote yes at town meeting, that means by a majority vote that you have approved the TIF agreement, and that we can send that agreement to the state for its approval, and that Amazon would receive $27 million in tax relief over a 10-year period.
And if the no vote carries, what will that do to the agreement? Will it be further studied, or what would happen?
So if the no vote carries, that means the TIF has failed. Amazon has said that the TIF agreement is a material part of the project, and that if the vote does not pass, they would have to go back and reevaluate whether or not the North Andover project moved forward.
And is there any time commitment on either side, either the town or Amazon, for that review?
No, there is no, once it fails, I believe at that point Amazon would go back and make a decision on whether or not they would move forward with closing and with the permits process.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for your information.
Thank you. We appreciate your questions.
Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Okay, you can also email us at amazontif@northandoverma.gov. Even if you don't want to email us now, even if you're like me and at 11 o'clock at night you think of something you wish you asked me, you can email us at amazontif@northandoverma.gov. We will be sharing those answers with the community. Brad and Andrew and I will put our heads together to get you the best possible answers that we can. Do we have any more callers? There's no more callers. Everyone, I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. This was a great town hall, our first virtual town hall. Kind of hope it's our last, to be honest, because I prefer to see you face to face. But I'd like to thank North Andover CAM, our amazing IT department, my epic executive director of economic and community development, and Brad Griggs from Amazon for joining us here today to answer questions. Please do not hesitate to reach out as we go forward in toward Tuesday town meeting. I hope you will join us. And I would like to just ask Brad if he has anything he'd like to add, since he cannot be here with us on Tuesday.
I just want to thank you, Melissa, Andrew, and the town of North Andover for running this excellent town hall. Obviously, with the COVID crisis, it's unfortunate that we will not be able to be there, but we've worked hard on this project, and we hope that the town approves the TIF next week at town meeting, and that you have great weather for it. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Andrew, any last words from you?
No, just thank you for tuning in, asking some great questions. As Melissa said before, we're all available to you through the email address that was put up just a moment ago if you want to email your questions, or you can look us up on the town website, call into town hall, and we'll be happy to answer your questions over the phone as well. So thank you so much for tuning in.
We will see you Tuesday, 5 p.m. at the high school. Thank you.